Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. $25 billion blown up. I'm not talking about Mark Carney's sovereign wealth fund. I'm talking about the amount of money Donald Trump has spent dropping bombs and just blowing stuff up in the Middle East in just 2 months. $25 billion. Today, General Kane, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, on the hot seat at a hearing before lawmakers, being asked about all of that, asked about the amount of money being spent, about the war itself, strategies, and it was pretty revealing, actually. So we've got that for you. Also, on the hot seat, Mark Carney himself, the Prime Minister of Canada, put on the hot seat in the House of Commons during question period, being held accountable by Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader. Today, there was a pretty heated exchange of questions and answers across the floor. So we have all of that. What else do we have for you? King Charles upstaging Trump in New York City today, gas prices, and something very special again at the end of the program for you that is kind of near and dear to my heart in a way, because it's all about one of the original Mavericks, an OG misfit. I'll explain all that, and we'll have a whole lot more as we work our way through the top news stories of the day right here on the Maverick News Channel. Don't go away. Be right back after that.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, before we get started, please tonight, everybody just be nice to each other in the chat. No fighting, okay? I know that sometimes things can get a little spicy in there, but I'm just going to ask everybody to just dial it down a little bit if you've been involved in any kind of a exchange back and forth. Either way, just be respectful, be kind, and all will be well. You can have differences of opinions, and that's all fine. You don't have to agree with everything I say. If you want to agree with what I say, that's even better. Then that would be great if you supported what I said, but you don't have to. You can disagree with me as long as it's all respectful. But you all know that anyway. Let's just be adults. Don't act like that other guy who gets mad when people make jokes about him and demands that they be fired from their jobs again. I'm not sure where the Jimmy Kimmel thing is going. I've seen reports that owners of affiliate stations from ABC putting pressure on to have him removed. We're seeing talk about stations having their licenses reviewed because of Trump's discontent. It's getting pretty nasty. It is, in many ways, an assault on free speech. I think it's awful that that there's so much cheerleading for it, especially from the MAGA side, because prior to this Trump administration, so many people got canceled and banned on social media. The censorship was pretty nasty. Now the shoe's on the other foot. It's flipped upside down the other way. And I think that in many ways, Trump is acting much, 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 much worse. And people around him in the MAGA sphere don't see it because it's their team and they're doing it to the other side. So yeah, it is about revenge. Yeah, I think really largely it is. And it goes beyond revenge to being kind of vindictive. Not kind of, it is. And this latest attack on Kimmel again, he's refusing to apologize, and I don't think he has any choice, really. He can't really bend the knee to this. We'll see. I don't think he's going to get fired, but I could be wrong. So it wouldn't be the first time. We'll see where it goes. Today, though, $25 billion. That's been revealed as the cost, approximately, so far as the war with Iran nears its 60-day mark. The cost estimate came from acting Pentagon Comptroller Jules Hurst III, who testified at a House Armed Services Committee hearing alongside Defense Secretary. That's the official name of the department, by the way. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, even though he calls it the Department of War. By the way, before I move on, did you know it's going to cost about $52 million just to change the name from Department of Defense to Department of War, which is something that they've now formally asked for. So yeah, $52 million just to do that. That's a lot of coin. I guess they have to change all the stationery and put up new plaques and signs and door names and stuff. I guess who knows what it takes to do all of that. But $52 million. Also testifying today, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane, as Trump likes to refer to him as Raisin Kane, which I don't know how the general feels about that. He must be okay with it, but I think with the pretty apparent lack of confidence that a lot of the senior military have in Pete Hegseth, I think it's probably pretty hard for them to bite their tongues and put up with the shenanigans that we've seen going on in there and the incompetence from Hegseth. When you have a group of experienced, educated, competent, knowledgeable people who are taking direction from somebody who is the complete opposite of that in almost every way and has a reputation for, shall we say, overindulging. It's got to be very, very hard, especially when the real cost with the war in Iran is, you have 13 people service members who have been killed, Americans. So anyway, today, $25 billion revealed as the cost, and General Kane and Hegseth on the hot seat. Let's start with this from General Kane at the hearing today, and he highlights this for us. Here we go.
As the chairman and the ranking member both said, we live in complex and dynamic times where global risk is scaling. The complexity of today's modern battlefields demands our constant adaptation, innovation, and partnership with this Congress. As a joint force, we're up to the challenge. We're built for this environment. However, continued success is not guaranteed by past achievements. It must be secured through forward-looking partnerships with Congress. And to drive this pace and change and maintain our superiority, we need timely, predictable, and sustained investment. The resources we discussed today are critical to modernizing our force and ensuring that whatever threats emerge in the future, that your joint force is ready to meet those challenges to protect our interests and defend our nation. As the Secretary said, the President's fiscal year 2027 budget supports the Department's goals of recharging the defense industrial base and the national industrial base, ensuring our military is ready, securing our military advantage. Within the joint force, the uniform side, our priorities remain the same, ensuring our warfighters are properly armed, globally integrated, and ready, while always taking care of our people. And what truly sets our people apart from other militaries around the world is the 1.8 million members, enlisted members of our force, who maintain readiness beyond reproach and are the envy of every other nation. I'm joined today by the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chairman, Dave Isom, who's here with me today representing the 1.8 million members of the enlisted force. He is a great American, not an Americant. While we face dynamic and a dangerous world, I have the absolute trust in the extraordinary men and women who come and volunteer to serve our nation within our joint force. They execute the missions quietly every day, and coupled with the American spirit, outthink, outcompete, and relentlessly innovate, we will maintain our decisive edge, but doing so requires your partnership. We stand ready today to answer our nation's call. It remains the honor of a lifetime for me to serve alongside the members of this joint force. And as we sit here today in this important hearing, I ask us all to remember our deployed teammates who are out there right now doing our nation's business. And may we again always remember our fallen, who've given us the gift of an incredible example, and their family members who continue to show us what courage and grit look like. Thank you again for your enduring support, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, General. I recognize myself now for questions. Secretary Hegseth, thank you for undertaking the Arsenal of Freedom tour and the great work the department's doing to help enhance our capacity in our defense industrial base. Could you tell us how last year's reconciliation bill helped enable what you have been able to do, and what you think this year's FY27 budget request will do on that front?
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your leadership and your support on that topic. I mean, coming into this position, we fell in on a lot of the reforms you and this committee have been advocating for a long time. Looking for somebody that was willing to run with them, and our department have run with those. And that reconciliation bill last year was kind of the rocket fuel to initiate President Trump's priorities in this department. So we fell in on a department that was focused on a lot of the wrong things, going in the wrong direction. And with reconciliation, we were able to put, $22 billion in shipbuilding, $22 billion into Golden Dome, $25 billion into munitions, established drone dominance, which we're continuing to do this day in this next budget funds. So getting in front of that budget cycle, which had been notoriously unpredictable, coming out of the continuing resolution of FY25, to fund this and then a historic bill in FY26, laid the groundwork for this historic budget to ensure that we're not coming at a cold start here. We came into this administration. Reconciliation was a beautiful tool. We were able to use that through that one big beautiful bill to fund the priorities of this department. We spent on $4 billion on barracks, started immediately getting after the quality of life of barracks. Because of the austerity of the Biden administration, we traded off of maintenance, traded off of quality of life to try to fund other things operationally. This budget stops that cycle and both invests in sustainment and modernization.
Okay, so this is, prelude to things to come. And the budget is important because they've been burning through a lot of money and a lot of munitions. That's really where the bulk of the expenses come from. Tomahawk missiles, firing off those things at millions of dollars a pop. And so they are working on a budget that will allow for rearmament to build back what they've been blowing up They spent like 11.3 billion in just the first 6 days of the conflict with Iran. Let's go back here now, and with that in mind, Hegseth continued to be grilled on cost.
With that, I yield to the ranking member for any questions he may have.
Thank you. Mr. Hurst, drag you into the conversation here. We have not yet received from the Pentagon the costs of the war. So just for the record, we'd like to get that as soon as possible. Certainly the munitions expended, but also underreported is we've had a fair amount of equipment destroyed, including 2 C-130s with the rescue of our downed airmen. So do you have either A, a cost estimate coming to us anytime soon, or B, a specific supplemental request?
Thank you for that question. So approximately at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury. Most of that is in munitions. There's part of that is obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
Sure. So you're saying the full cost at this point is $25 billion?
Yeah, that's our estimate for the cost.
Okay, interesting, because I'm glad you answered that question, because we've been asking for a hell of a long time and no one's given us the number. So if you could get those details over to us, that would be great. Mr. Secretary, you mentioned the nuclear aspect of Iran and the war. And it is worth noting that every president prior to this one, including President Trump in his first term, also prevented Iran from getting a nuclear weapon without actually having to go to war in Iran. So we need to keep that in mind. But also, since the war started, Iran's nuclear arsenal has not been weakened in any way. And at the moment, in negotiations, what Iran is saying, basically pay us to open up the strait. That's their position, which is completely untenable. I agree. It's worth noting, of course, that the strait was open before the war started. Now we're negotiating to get back to status quo. And Iran's most recent offer is to say, we'll talk about nukes later. So what is the plan to actually turn all of this lethal kinetic action into an improvement in the nuclear situation? Because we haven't gotten there yet. Play it out for us. How does that happen? How does it actually lead to that result?
Well, I would take issue with the premise of the question that nothing was done. Operation Midnight Hammer was a very effective.
Well, I didn't say nothing was done. I said in this war.
Ultimately,
this war started.
well, this under this administration, unlike other administrations, which cut bad deals and pallets of cash with no ability to oversee whether Iran is actually pursuing a nuclear program.
Which is where
if we
we're
want
at
to litigate JCPOA or the Iran deal, our view, the president's view, is that was a very bad deal.
Okay.
It gave them a
That's
bunch
the
of money up
past.
front.
What's the future?
To fund, you talked about negotiated deals. Allowed them to fund their proxies and spread Hamas and Hezbollah all around the region, build up nuclear capabilities.
Great. What are we going to do now?
President Trump has been clear-eyed, from the killing of Qasem Soleimani to the pulling out of the Iran deal to Midnight Hammer and now to this effort to recognize that you have to stare down this kind of enemy who's hell-bent on getting a nuclear weapon and get them to a point where they're at the table giving it up in a way that
So they
ensures never have it.
So they haven't broken yet. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet for all of the.
Well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Underground, they're buried, and we're watching them 24/7. So we know where any nuclear material
Reclaiming
might
my
be.
time for
We're
just a
watching
quick
it.
second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands
So
of missiles.
Operation Midnight
They're at the
Hammer
weakest
accomplished
moment.
nothing of substance. It
Well, you're
left us
missing-
at
you're
exactly
missing
the
the
same
point.
place we were before. So
Their,
much so
their
that we had to
facilities
start
were
a
bombed
war.
and obliterated. Their ambitions continued, and they're building a conventional shield.
All right,
of
let me
missiles.
try again.
It's the North Korea strategy. You know this very well. The North
I
Korea
know.
strategy was use conventional missiles to prevent anybody from challenging them, so they could slow walk their way to a weapon. President Trump saw Iran at its weakest moment, took an action to ensure, in a way that only the United States of America could do with our Israeli partners,
And yet
to
they
ensure their
still haven't given
conventional
up the nuclear.
shield was
All right.
brought
One
to
other
heel, which
question,
we've done.
if I could get to it. So on Ukraine, a year plus ago, your advice, the president's advice, was Ukraine had no cards to play. They should go cut the best possible deal they could. Clearly that was wrong. What did you miss? What did you miss about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine that you didn't see that Ukraine was going to be capable of doing what they've done in the last 14 months?
What we didn't miss, and we're here in this committee, is that Joe Biden, with no accountability, gave hundreds of billions of dollars of our weapons to Ukraine, to an outcome that never
you're
would
not
have happened
gonna
if
you're not
President
gonna
Trump
answer
was
the
president.
question.
So he pulled out you guys don't talk about that. Ultimately, President Trump believes there should be
Okay.
a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine that serves
But you
the
didn't
best
expect
interests of both
Ukraine to be
parties.
where they're at right now. I'm asking you, just from a strategic
Listen,
standpoint,
I
what
think
did
the
you miss?
Ukrainians have shown great courage, and I appreciate that Europe is now paying for any weapons that we provide.
All right, I yield back. Thank you.
All right, now I want to remind everybody,
Okay, so the questions continued, the friction continued. Hegseth still asked about the overall cost of this thing. Also, reports coming out over the last few weeks that the amount of damage done to U.S. bases in the region has been more severe than was reported. President Trump also saying they're going to go after the media outlet that he says leaked the information that one of the airmen in that F-15 that was shot down had been stranded inside Iran and needed to be rescued. He's not happy about that. He's saying that information was leaked. It was a national security matter, and it looks like there could be ramifications over that. So it'll blur the line between getting a scoop on a story and doing what might have been a breach, something that maybe went over the line and put lives at risk. So that's something, as a journalist, I've always been mindful of. You have to put sometimes the needs of the one or the few ahead of, or the needs of the many ahead of the needs of the, you know what I'm saying? It's just not right to spill the beans. Loose lips sink ships. That's the best analogy. In any event, tough questions. Hegseth, not really, I don't think he's very smooth with the answers, not really satisfactory to many, because the strategy that has been used here from the beginning clearly has not worked the way Trump was hoping, because we're in a worse position tonight than we were before the war started, as was just pointed out. The Strait of Hormuz still blockaded, oil not flowing, and even though it looks like the strait, that some ships might be allowed to come through until the whole thing is resolved, the mine's cleared, the danger passes, the ships can't really get insurance. And if they don't have insurance, they're not going through, and that alone results in the strait being shut down. Here we go with more with Hegseth on the hot seat.
now, there's a gentleman from California, Mr. Khanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Hegseth, tomorrow is 2 months since the war has begun. You've testified that it was $25 billion in cost in terms of the munitions we used and what we paid for it. But when you add to that the damage that was done to our bases and today's dollars for buying replacement munitions and replacement aircrafts, what has the total cost been over the last 60 days?
That number right now reflects the total cost that we're seeing.
Including buying in today's dollars the new weapons and replacements, and incling the damage there? That's your testimony?
If there's
under oath?
adjustments to that, I would defer to the comptroller on that.
And how much are you seeing in terms of, are you asking in terms of supplemental funding just for the Iran mission from this committee?
If and when a supplemental is submitted,
Yeah, how much?
the majority of it would not be for
What
Epic
would be the
Fury, it would be
ballpark for Iran?
munitions related to the entirety
Just
of
a
what
number,
we want to
sir.
get done.
A number, what would you submit? What are
It
you
would be
requesting?
on Iran, it would be less than 25 billion, but there's a lot more we would ask for beyond
Oh,
just Iran.
you're saying it's
considering-
25 billion. Okay, I would just, if you
Okay.
come back, you want to revise those numbers, because all the experts are disagreeing with you when it comes to today's dollars and damage, but you can revise it. How much did it cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike to the Iranian school where kids were killed? Do you have that number in terms of the missiles we used?
As I've said, that unfortunate situation remains under investigation.
You don't know how much it
15-6
costs the
investigation, but I
taxpayer?
wouldn't tie a cost to that, to anything.
It's a reasonable question, no, sir? I mean, our taxpayer money was going there. Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
I would simply ask you what the cost is of an Iranian nuclear bomb.
I'm going to give you that
I
opportunity.
would simply ask you what the. You're
but,
playing gotcha
sir,
questions
sir,
about
no, it's
domestic
not.
things. I'm not.
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increased
Why
cost
won't
of
you
gas
answer what
and
it
food?
costs to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb?
I give you that, sir. But let me.
What
if you
would
could
it
just
cost?
ask my
What would you
question.
pay to ensure Iran doesn't
But
get a nuclear
can you-
bomb?
Do you?
What would
Sir,
you pay?
I reclaim my time. Do you not know? You had no one do the analysis of what the increased cost of gas and food on the American people are going to be?
What is the cost
Let
of
me-
Iran
let me give
holding
you the
that
number.
straight at
Let me
issue
give
with
you the
nuclear
number.
weapons?
It's $631 billion, which means it's an increase of $5,000 a year for American households. Now, let me give you this point. You're saying that your operation is preventing a nuclear Iran. Will you acknowledge that there is an economic cost to the American people for doing what you believe is necessary to make Iran denuclear? Will you acknowledge the economic cost?
We have an incredible economic team that's managing this better than
Yeah,
but what the previous
but to
administration did to our
acknowledge that-
economy,
to acknowledge
what the
there's a
previous
cost.
administration
You-
did
you
with
don't even
inflation,
know what the- you know
what
what's
the previous
upsetting? I reclaim
administration
my
did with
time. You know,
COVID,
Secretary-
and you're going to
Secretary,
lecture this
I reclaim
administration
my
about the
time, sir.
economy?
You know what is upsetting to me?
Incredible.
You didn't even do the analysis on how much it's costing the American people. It's one thing if you said, okay, it costs the American people $5,000, but we think it's worth it. That's what we've done in World War II and other wars. Here's what it costs. You got to pay for it. You don't even know what the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence. It's the incompetence. Let me ask you this. Certainly, maybe here we'll find agreement. There was still 440 pounds of low-enriched uranium, correct, when President Obama, after the JCPOA? Is that accurate?
The amounts and types are classified.
Okay. Will you acknowledge that there were 970 pounds of uranium enriched after Trump tore up the JCPOA?
The JCPOA was a terrible deal that allowed Iran a path to
I
a
know
nuclear bomb.
You deal with vague platitudes. I'm asking you about numbers. Like you don't know what gas costs, you don't know what food costs, you don't know what the operation costs. You know, I get sound bites, but how about numbers? Do you know how much the enriched uranium was after you ripped up the JCPOA? Trump did.
I'll give you a number. I know that, as was stated by early on, the price of gas is twice as expensive in California, your home state, as anywhere else in the country because of the horrible policies your state pursued.
You know what? It used to be that type of stuff worked, and then you started to lose the people that you campaigned you wanted to be for, because you said you wouldn't get us into bad wars. You said you would bring down the prices. You know what I'm sad for? I'm sad for all the people who voted for Trump. I'm sad for them because you betrayed them. You betrayed a lot of that MAGA base. And you know who knows that? J.D. Vance knows that.
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Yeah. Long on platitudes, short on details. And it is, you know, to win countries don't win wars. Or I shouldn't say armies don't win wars. Countries do. Like the people, the economy, the productivity of people. Everybody contributes. You have to have the country behind you. It costs. Everybody has to make a sacrifice when something like this goes down. And that's what needs to be factored into everything you do. You need to cost this stuff out because you need to see how much depth you have. It's all part of the strategy. It's not as simple as just saying we're just going to send some aircraft carriers over there and bomb them back to the Stone Age and they'll capitulate. It doesn't work that way. Not with a place like Iran. This is not Venezuela. This is a heavily fortified country. This situation in the Strait of Hormuz, it's having impact globally. Oil prices still going up today. up another 6% in a day, almost 7%. Brent crude, $118 a barrel. Another 6.77%. That's translating into much higher prices at the pump as well. I'm going to take a quick break, come back on the other side. I'll show you how much.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Let's check those gas prices. Okay, first we'll take a look at the Canadian side. Actually, let's do the U.S. side first. And Hegseth, of course, stating what everybody knows, gas prices highest out in California, and that is because of high taxes and government policies, state policies, on top of federal policies. So gas prices hitting their highest level in 4 years, spiking over $4 a gallon on average nationwide tonight. Here we go. There it is. AAA fuel prices, $4.22 a gallon nationwide. 1 year ago, $3.16. That's a whole lot of dineros for Americans. And if you look at the map, $5.98 in California, $5.98. They do have higher taxes out there. Nevada, $5.09. Arizona, $4.63. $5.53 in Washington State. $5.11 in Oregon. Come on out here to the middle countries and states, and Kansas, $3.70, and Oklahoma, $3.65. Texas, oil-rich Texas, $3.78 a gallon. How about way up here in Ohio, $4.22, $4.31 in Pennsylvania, and in New York State, $4.24 a gallon. $4.24. We're going to take a look closer at New York, but as the broadcast continues tonight, but did you see what happened at the Buffalo Sabres hockey game where they play the Canadian national anthem alongside the U.S. national anthem? There was a problem with the microphone last night. I'm not going to run the audio because we'll show you the video, because we'll probably get a copyright strike, because it was they protect those sports broadcasts pretty heavily. If I run that, we'll get copyright striked for sure. But the microphone didn't work, so the singer kept cutting out. So the crowd in Buffalo picked it up for her and sang the Canadian national anthem. The whole arena was rocking to "O Canada," and it didn't go unnoticed. A lot of Canadian television stations and even live streams and social media influencers noting that last night. And man, I'll tell you, it makes people's hearts glow, and it makes our friendship grow as well, our alliance with the United States. It just shows how close we really are and how much we love each other, especially border communities like Buffalo, right there on the the border, Niagara Falls. And yeah, I've got some friends up there in Buffalo myself, so I really love that town. And I'm becoming a bigger Sabres fan now as a result. And I don't even really watch much hockey anymore, except when I'm with my dad. But here's the price of gasoline on the Canuckistanian side of the border. If you're coming this way, my American friends, you're going to pay $1.73.8 on average across the country today per liter. 3.78 liters and a gallon of gasoline. So just shy of 4 times that in Canadian dollars. Canadian dollars are not worth as much. I don't know what the exchange rate is right now, but what is the... So the exchange rate today would be 1 Canadian dollar to USD today is 73 cents US. So come shopping over here, your dollar goes further. That's as a result of interest rates, which could be going up, apparently, as the central banks on both sides eye what's going on with gas prices, and that's having a major impact on inflation because rising gas prices built into the cost of living. And if it continues, we're seeing some warning signs from the central bankers that interest rates may increase. That will cost everyone more as well in order to cool down the inflation. That's the economic lever that they pull in order to make money more expensive, to curb spending and borrowing so that the economy doesn't overheat. It reduces consumption, consumer demand, because people won't have as much money. And in not as much debt either, new debt. But it makes it more expensive to fund the debt that you do have. It makes it more expensive to put gas in the tank of your car. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to show you a clip from a separatist out in Alberta, somebody who's been on this program, Jason Lafacci. He made this video today, and I'm going to comment on it, talking about gas prices. He woke up this morning, I guess, went out, saw what was going on, and he said this.
Hey guys, so did you wake up today to see the gas prices get shot up 40 cents in the last 12 hours? Guess what? These gas stations are actually breaking the law because that's not supposed to happen until May 1st. And what's the date today? April 29th. So if you look behind me here, you got Petro-Canada sitting at...
They're not breaking any laws.
At 182.9, and then across the street, right across the street, you got Chevron at 182.9. So tell me, make this make sense, folks. Make it make sense. Like I said, we need price caps. When they get delivered the gas into the ground and it sits there for a week because it takes a week for it to get all used up, when they reload, shouldn't it be the same price at the gas for the whole week rather than something changing every day? And then...
No. See, this is the thing. Separatists say, oh, we have to stop these liberals. People in the MAGA camp, people in the conservative camp these days, they say, we hate liberals, we're at war with liberals. We're conservatives. He's not a conservative. That's not conservatism. That's government overreach that he's calling for. He's calling for a liberal policy. Well, he condemns the liberals and calls for the government to be torn down, calls for Alberta to separate, calling for a policy which was something that got Alberta upset to begin with if you go all the way back to the 1970s. The National Energy Program, wage and price controls. Who brought that in? Pierre Trudeau. That's why people out there got so upset. He doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's just out, saying stuff to get you jacked up. Yeah, the price goes up and down because there are regulations in place that make sure there is competition between gas stations at the street level. Did you know that it's against the law for what is against the law? They're not breaking the law. What is against the law is for the stations to collude together and rig the price so that everybody ends up paying more. That's why there isn't uniformity on the price up and down the streets. It's actually even illegal for the station employees to phone each other during the day to see how much the station down the street is charging. They're not supposed to talk to each other about the prices. There have been court cases in Canada over it to make sure there is competition so that we do pay the lowest price. Further, more than that, also, because I used to work for Sunoco when I was going through college, university, when I was much younger, in my 20s. I used to work the night shift at many gas stations, and it was different back then. There were more independent stations. Today, I'm telling you, gas stations don't even really make much in terms of profit, if anything at all, at the retail level. And very few independent gas stations anymore. On average, they're making like 5 cents a liter in Canada in profit. That's why they've expanded these stations out. I can't speak to what's going on in the States, but in Canada, I know that's why you have these big convenience stores and fast pizza pickup places and stuff all built into these gas stations now, because they make the money. They make more money selling soda than they do selling the gasoline. Now, the oil companies in general, yeah, they're still making big bank because it's a vertically integrated business model. But at the retail level, they're not making that much. And I don't want price caps. That is government control over pricing. That's the government deciding who makes how much money and how pricing is administered. They start to dictate to companies. No, the market will keep the price low, keep profits low based on how much the market will bear. And the price jacked up. He's saying that it's not because of the war in Iran, which is clearly not true, because prices are up all over the world as a result of the war with Iran. This is disingenuous. This is political red meat in order to get people upset so that you vote to leave the country. It's not honest at all. He can come on the program if he wants, and I'll talk to him about it. I'll educate him. I suspect he maybe knows already, but he's saying it anyway. It's not true. Prices are up because of less supply, higher oil prices, 118 a barrel. That's why. When it was like $40, $50 a barrel, it's $1.70 here now. It was, I guess, in where he is out there in Alberta today, it jacked up like 40 cents a liter. And some of the stations out there as high as $1.90, $1.70. You saw what the average price is here. It's been fairly stable, but we're back to the kind of levels we were paying when Trudeau was in power. No, I don't want the government to control the industry. Yeah, regulate it, sure, but just make sure there's competition so that we pay lower prices. I don't want the government doing that. That's the thing. These people, they're telling you they're conservatives. Oh, we hate the liberals. So what do they call for? Because they're not conservatives. They are populist socialists. They're socialists. And they want the government to control everything. We want our freedom and our liberty, and that's the opposite of all of that. Oil industry controlled by, an oligopoly, which is a bunch of huge oil companies, of course. But no, I don't want the government dictating prices. I was alive. I'm that old when Trudeau brought in wage and price controls. It was a freaking disaster. That's the government dictating how much you can be paid in a raise and how much businesses are allowed to charge. Just with a stroke of a pen, you can only charge this much money for a product. You start doing that kind of stuff and the government gets it wrong because the price doesn't become a true reflection of what the market will is demanding. And then businesses go out of business because now they're being told you have to sell this at a loss. Or they get it too high and then we all pay more than we have to. No, it's wrong think, and it's not honest, and it sure as hell isn't conservative. This is what I keep trying to tell everybody, but people are so blinded by the emotion, so blinded by the tribalism that you just, not say you, I mean a lot of people on the populist pseudo-conservative side, the fake conservative side, you're brainwashed. If they just say the word liberal, you're triggered and you go mental. It is what it is, what it is. The policies are the policies are the policies. They're either good, they're bad, they're socialist, they're free market capitalism, they're somewhere in between. This is all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be honest with you and try to get you, an accurate perspective on where things really sit. I'm not making the crap up, and I'm not the only one who sees it. Media report today. Do I have it here? Yeah, I think it's right here. Right here. I keep telling you this, that Carney is more conservative, I think, than Polyev on the economic side. I'm not talking about some of the more progressive social policies. That's a whole different ball of wax. And we haven't even been going down that road with him at this point because we've been dealing with all these economic issues, trade, oil prices, budgets, economic and updates like we got yesterday, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, all of this stuff. Well, here's look at this headline from Global today. Carney's economic update gives more Harper vibes than Trudeau. I didn't write it. This is an outlet that has not really been, a media outlet that hasn't really been that friendly to the Liberals at all. Global? Mainstream, but not really pro-liberal. I wouldn't say that at all. They run a lot of stuff on there that's highly critical and puts the liberals under pretty intense microscope. There's your headline. And they're quoting political figures across the country, including some conservatives who are, much to their chagrin, upset because Carney's taking the wind out of the sails of their platform. And some liberals aren't even happy because they feel like it's too conservative. But you assess as you will. I'm just calling it like I see it. And having the government control prices, that becomes a centrally planned economy. That's frickin' communism. Economic communism, aka socialism, but no, like socialism is programs. That's budgets for social programs. Price caps, that's total government control over an industry. Like that, it's controlling one of the main economic factors in determining, supply. You manipulate the price, you're going to affect the supply. It's going to have a direct impact on your pocketbook and the availability of fuel. You're going to have gas. Oh, my God. What a disaster that is. Same thing with rent controls. Misguided. Every time they do it, every time they try it, it results in housing shortages because people stop building rental properties and they divest from them. It's an economic reality. You can look at it. You can't frickin' do that. There are other ways to supply housing, but to have and use incentives by pulling things along instead of pushing things through government control. Incentivize things. You shouldn't be pushing things. That's the way those are better economic policies. Carney today speaking about his plans, and you can hate him if you want. And you can say, like the conservatives keep saying, he hasn't done anything. He's not doing anything. Nothing's done. Everything he says is a lie. It's not true. They haven't achieved anything. Here he is again, stating, while speaking to skilled trades at a conference today. Where did it go? I got to find you there, Mr. PM. Do we still have you up? Yeah, it's right there. There it is. It's got to be this tab. Yes. Right there. So he was in Ottawa today, speaking to the people who build the country. The skilled trades folks, the plumbers, the carpenters, the construction workers, home builders. And he's telling them exactly what the government has done and what they're going to do. At least this is his plan and some of what says he's done. I'll leave it up to you whether you want to believe it or not.
To build Canada strong, we're catalyzing a series of nation-building projects in energy, trade, critical minerals, transport, data, and beyond. And the work's just starting. To give examples, last spring, construction began on the Darlington new nuclear project here in Ontario. This month, we broke ground on the Contrecoeur terminal expansion at the Port of Montreal. This summer, there'll be shovels in the ground in the Mackenzie Valley Highway in the north. These are just a few examples. These are projects, particularly the last 2
weeks away.
They have been dreams for decades. Dreams for decades. Been talking about the Mackenzie Valley Highway since I was born. They are becoming realities within months. Nous réduisons les formalités administratives pour permettre.
Okay. I don't know what else to tell you. He comes out, he says these things, then people say he's lying or he's not happening. They just ignore it. Then media releases come out. They have news conferences. They stand right in front of the projects. The construction workers are there. The equipment's there. And then I still hear people saying he's not doing anything. It has nothing to. I don't know what else. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how people just can't see. I'm not saying everything he's saying is absolutely true. I'm just telling you what's going on. I'm just telling you what's going on, man. Don't shoot the messenger. If you don't like it, I don't know, plug your ears for a minute till we move on to the next story. But the exchange in the House of Commons, well, you might have to plug your ears some more. I haven't even watched this yet. I just know that we had a pretty fiery exchange today between the Prime Minister and Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader, for our American friends who maybe don't know who Pierre Poilievre is. This is the way it works up here in Canada. In Parliament question period.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's been waiting for Carney to come back.
Plus de coûts, plus de...
More costs, more taxes, higher debt. Just more going on the credit card, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister is a typical Liberal. He doubled Justin Trudeau's deficit from $31 billion to $65 billion. With $27 billion in new spending this year alone. And now he's forcing Canadians to pay $3,400 per family to pay the interest on the debt. Is there any limit to the Liberal credit card? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, there is no limit to opportunities and possibilities for Canada. The spring economic update is just the next step in our plan to make Canada stronger, more resilient, more independent. We are implementing half of our initiatives to strengthen affordability, to make life more affordable for Canadians. We are also enhancing and strengthening our fiscal position, which is the strongest in the G7. He just stole Justin Trudeau's talking lines. But he doubled just Mr. Trudeau's deficit. This Prime Minister has given Canadians the worst food inflation in the G7. His costly credit card budget is making Canadians pay $60 billion on debt service charges, more than we spend on GST or on healthcare. So the government is spending more on bankers than it is on nurses and doctors. Why? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I understand why the opposition leader seems obsessed with the former Prime Minister. He's obsessed with the past. This government is focusing on the future, though, the future of this great country. We have a plan to strengthen the second fastest economic growth in the G7, and we have the best fiscal position of the entire G7. We are building a strong Canada for all, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, it's just that this Liberal Prime Minister has gone from writing Justin Trudeau's policies to plagiarizing his talking points. Actually, that's not fair to Justin Trudeau. This Liberal Prime Minister has done the impossible, and that is he has doubled the deficit that Trudeau left behind. More cost, more debt, more taxes, more on the national credit card, and more interest payments for Canadians. So once again, with Canadians spending $3,000 per family on interest for the debt, is there any limit on the Liberal credit card?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in the face of a tariff war, in the face of an actual war, this government has reduced the deficit by $11 billion. This government has reduced the level of debt across the entire forecast horizon. This government is on track to deliver $60 billion of savings for Canadians. This government's on track to reduce spending on consultants by 20%. This government will build Canada strong.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the deficit Justin Trudeau had provided for this year was $31 billion. Yesterday, the Liberal Prime Minister provided a deficit of $65 billion. 65 is bigger than 31.
Yes.
And if you read, I know I'll speak slowly for the Liberal mathematicians on the other side of the House, because as the Globe and Mail said, in the upside-down land of the Liberals, a spending spree is a spending cut. Blowing a windfall of billions of dollars is prudent, and failing to prepare for a fiscal storm is, well, just good.
Time's up. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Your time is up here. In many ways, it's up.
Mr. Speaker, I won't go there. Mr. Speaker, this government's focused on affordability. Half of the measures in the update are to make life more affordable Canadians. Reducing, and June 5th, look forward 12 million Canadians to getting a check to help with groceries and essential. Lower cost of gasoline. But we're building the country strong for all, including Canada's youth, the biggest investment in apprenticeships in our history.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Liberals are like the Bourbon dynasty. They learn nothing and they forget nothing. Over the last decade, they told us that if we racked up the credit card, that somehow it would grow the economy. What do we get? We've got the worst growth in the G7, the highest housing costs in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7, the worst investment per worker in the G7. And now it's deja vu all over again with the Prime Minister repeating exactly the same policies. More debt, more costs, more taxes. He's just another Liberal. Will this Prime Minister recognize that Canadians are paying for his mistakes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians will not forget that the member opposite voted against childcare, voted against pharmacare, voted against dental care, voted against the groceries and essentials benefit that Canadians are going to see $500 paychecks in a few weeks. Mr. Speaker, Canadians will see the second strongest growing economy in the G7. They would like to forget.
Is my time up?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal Prime Minister has been wrong about every major economic issue of the last decade. He was wrong to push for bigger and broader carbon taxes. Wrong to say that we should leave 50% of our oil in the ground. Wrong to oppose the Northern Gateway pipeline. Wrong to say COVID would lead to deflation. Wrong to say money printing would not raise the cost. Wrong to say that affordability is the best that it's been in a decade. He keeps getting it wrong, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, he repeated the same mistakes. When will he realize that the more he gets it wrong, the more the Canadian people have to pay?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, wrong on crypto, wrong on Brexit. I could go on. But you know what this government is right on? You know what this government is right on? It's about cooperative federalism. It is working with the great province of Alberta to make sure that Canadian energy powers the world. It's about ensuring our competitiveness. It's about working with the province of Ontario, a premier that picks up my phone call and works with us to put Darlington new nuclear into power. It is about building Canada strong for all.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Okay, enough.
Mr. Speaker.
Enough for today. It's quite a show in there, isn't it? I took note of a report, too. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but the Liberals in Ontario, leaderless, provincially, now leading the Conservatives of Doug Ford in the polls, which I think is surprising, kind of weird, but I think sometimes those polls are confusing to people, and a lot of people maybe don't make a distinction between federal and provincial unless there's an actual election on. So I haven't seen the details of the poll itself. I just saw the headline today. But I thought that was, well, it was unexpected, honestly, because of the state of the Liberal Party in Ontario at the moment. So we'll see where all that goes, too, because Doug Ford, pretty vocal on the trade file. And my question to you guys is, how many of you know the difference between the federal debt and a deficit? When we're listening to an exchange like that and they're talking about all the, these economic issues, does anybody, do you guys know the difference between the debt and a deficit? Anyway, I'll leave it in there. Maybe I'll review the chat later, maybe after the program. Let me know if you know. I can explain it another time. It isn't that complicated, but I think sometimes these exchanges take place and people get focused on the fireworks, but don't really understand the issues because they don't understand how economics or even how government works on one level or another, and then they make wrong assumptions. Speaking of the economy, there is this story as well in Canada about Rogers Communications. Of course, they're big into all broadcasting, one of the biggest broadcasting cable communications companies, cell phones, all things communications. They're looking to lay off as many as 10,000 employees countrywide. I think that's almost half their workforce, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's close to about 40 or 50% of their whole workforce as they look to cut their spending by capital spending, 30%. Yeah, that's their goal because of uncertainty in the economy and changes in the industry. Possible as well that interest rates could be going up, as I just indicated, because of the higher oil prices. And if that happens, they'll have more difficulty financing their debt. However, I'm gonna let you in on something from a kind of a personal perspective on this. As much as that sounds terrible, and it isn't good, overall, I'm gonna say this. Don't worry too much about it. I'll tell you what. Having worked in the broadcast industry as long as I did, there's just a regular cycle of employee purging that takes place among all of those companies, whether it's Bell Media, Rogers, or any of the other big corporations that control the newspapers, television stations, radio stations, specialty channels, cell phone companies, satellite communications, satellite TV, all of it. They purge. Every once in a while, they purge. They use an excuse. They'll come up with an excuse to go through this, to do an end run around a lot of the union agreements that they have, and then they can turf a lot of, I'm just telling you that they do it to get rid of a lot of like mid-level or mid-seniority employees so that they can reduce their long-term liabilities on pensions and things like that. And also because people go up and up and up the wage ladder. So I've seen it done so many times that I lived through it. I survived many of them. And I can tell you stories about it. But that's why working in radio and TV in Canada can be so unstable. People coming and going, especially in radio. Over the years, I saw so many people lose their jobs. So many. And then they just bring in a whole fresh crop of young people from community colleges and the programs they go through. And they work for a few years and then they move on to. And it's okay because it primes you. It gets you ready for other careers, other jobs. It's a huge education working in media, especially in the news business. Every day I was out there, I was learning things every single day. It was like going to school. And in that way, it was really very much a privilege because as the eyes and ears of the public acting in that capacity, you get to go places, see things, do things, meet people, see behind the curtain. You get to go where other people do not get to go. And you see the inner workings of things. You really do. Yeah. Would have been a privilege, actually, for anybody covering the King today, too. He went to New York City, met with the mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani. We're going to get into that in a minute. I want to come back here, though, first. Speaking of the King and thinking of Britain, 3 men, I told you about this trial yesterday. Just going to touch on it briefly. It's because there were some people out there trying to, they were spinning up a narrative that there was a deep, dark conspiracy where the mainstream media was trying to keep this whole trial secret of these 3 men on trial at the Old Bailey, accused of carrying out a series of arson attacks on properties linked to Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Somebody corrected me the way that I've been saying that. I know I say it wrong. It just comes out that way. I say care because it's my Canusa accent, my Canada USA accent, having grown up so close to the American border. It's the way I read words. With a little Spanish influence in there from some Spanish courses that I took, which I can't remember squat about how to speak Spanish anymore because I never used it for so many years. So yeah, I've been saying care. It just comes out. I know it's Kier, but it's kind of like Kiev or Kiev. How do you want to say that? Tomato, potato, care, Kier. Anyway, I apologize to the Prime Minister for saying your name wrong, Mr. Starmer. I'll say Mr. Starmer, and I'll try to avoid calling you Care Starmer anymore. Anyway, this story, I'll update it because today they did get into testimony. As a result, there has been mainstream media coverage of it. What they were doing the first 2 days of the trial is they were dealing with administrative things, jury selection, So there was no real evidence presented. And as I said, if I'd been working there, having covered courts a lot here in Canada, I probably wouldn't have gone down there either, because there's really not much to report. And as much as it got a lot of attention when the arsons took place, 2 homes, one a former home of Starmer, another one that he still owned but was renting out because he'd moved into Downing Street, and there was a car, an SUV that was set ablaze as well. But he didn't own it anymore. He'd sold it. So these 3, Petro Pochinok, I'll butcher these names too, I'm sure, because they're Ukrainian, Roman Lavrinovich and Stanislav Karpyuk. Okay? So these are the guys accused. They've entered pleas of not guilty, as I understand. Well, today, back in court, actual testimony taking place. They all deny conspiring to commit arson with intent to endanger life. Prosecutors say the men targeted this car that was formerly owned by Sir Keir. See, I have to get my lips around that. Sir Keir, a house once connected to him and another property still owned by Sir Keir. And it was I guess his sister-in-law was living in it. Anyway, these fires happened in North London over 5 days in May of last year. Nobody was hurt. So the prosecution today, the evidence, now we've got some actual evidence being presented really for the first time. So this will begin to shed light on the mystery surrounding all of this. Many speculating, a lot of theories and even conspiracies surrounding all of this. Well, today, the evidence presented by the prosecution, and we still don't have a verdict yet. This is just the beginning. The prosecution told the court that the 3 men were allegedly recruited and paid by a mysterious Russian-speaking handler on Telegram. And they have the digital evidence to back this up, and this is what was presented in court today. And this person was known only as El Money. So jurors heard the men were offered cryptocurrency to carry out these attacks, with one allegedly being promised £2,000 to torch the car. So this trial is supposed to last 2 to 3 weeks. And we have to go back this way. There's the car that was torched. That's a police photo. So we have that. And the saga continues. And I'll see what else comes of it in the days ahead. I did dip back into it today to update you, because I know that after touching on it last night, and it did seem sort of weird that a lot of the old stories have been purged from the internet, cleansed, and it did seem weird that there wasn't more media attention focused on the first couple of days of a trial that had received national and even international attention. However, I think my explanation sort of holds, and today, lots of mainstream media coverage on this. So kind of coming back into light, but I'm still not completely off the, is there anything untoward happening? I want more evidence, and that's what we'll try to bring you here, is actual facts over time in order to get you a proper perspective on this. Factual information, not just spin. All kinds of stuff going on. Okay, I'm going to take a little break, and then we will soon be going off to New York, the Big Apple. We're going to get a little out of King Charles, and I've got that little treat for you at the end, too, where you'll meet one of the OG misfits, a real Maverick.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Man, $25 billion in just 2 months. That's a lot of money. You know, that is as much as Carney is earmarking for that sovereign wealth fund. And I want more details on that too, to see if he's true to his word, to see if he really is putting that thing together as advertised. Yeah. But Donald Trump blew that much in 2 months. That's how much we as a country are putting up to build a legacy fund for Canadians in order to facilitate more investment and economic growth across the country over a long period of time, paying dividends really down the road for future generations. Anyway, gas prices, we did that. Carney, yes, done. Question period. Rogers, yeah, I know, 10,000 jobs. That's a lot. We'll see what happens there. It shows you, though, that we're facing real challenges, too, I have to admit. But I also know the way those companies work. So they'll use the opportunity to purge and then build back. And Rogers is a big company. They've got tons of money. So they'll survive, and it'll be resilient. Talked about the O Canada thing. We talked about this and that and that and this. What else do we have? You know, we're kind of getting into the good stuff here now. So King Charles, still on his rock and roll USA tour. He went to New York today. And the mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani, did meet with him. And he said that he was going to, what was he going to do? He had some special thing that he wanted to have the king do something. What was it about that diamond, I think? Yeah, anyway, I can't remember what it was, but he was going to ask the king to return. What was it? I'll find out and I'll get it for you. I can't quite remember. The important thing is, the more important thing is he went to the 9/11 memorial today. I've got video. But he did something else that was really, I thought it was kind of cool. He didn't just go to the memorial. As part of the memorial, they have a community garden there. And so he visited the community garden. And there are a lot of kids there. Here, I've got the video. I'm going to roll this. So in the community garden, I'm going to bring you this because this is the part that I kind of like the best. They've got a chicken coop. They breed. They have chickens there, and they collect the eggs, and they share them with the neighbors. And oh, the stupid chat thing is up again. I'm sorry. You're going to have to look at that. This is not our chat. This is the chat from the feed. It says it's disabled. Our chat's not disabled. This is the feed coming in. But here's the king at the community garden, and he's talking to kids, and he's going over, and he's fascinated with the chicken coop, and that's because the king has his own chicken coop, I understand, that they call back home. The king has a chicken operation that he calls Cluckingham Palace. So he kind of liked it. They could hardly pull him away from this thing today. He's into chickens, I guess.
Right out there in the beautiful library.
They're talking about a music program here.
But not on a Wednesday.
On a Saturday. A little more of a weekend.
I've added you first.
Exactly.
Yes, the chickens are over to the left there, see?
Go ahead. We are the ASCAP Foundation, where we provide songwriting.
Lovely to meet you, Patricia Leonard, the Executive Director.
What we do is support the next generation of extraordinary composers and songwriters and lyricists. We also
Bunch of
believe
school
that
kids there, so they're
music
talking about
education
schools.
should be access for everybody, and that's why being here with Harlem Grown today is so important to us. Because we provide guitar instruction.
Yeah, this is called Harlem Grown.
Which is free.
This is what the name of the community garden operation is all about.
So you do it here?
We do it here, yes.
Or in the building?
Here and in the building, and we do a showcase here in the summer.
And have you been finding some really interesting talent
Absolutely.
that way?
Yes, we do.
Then can you help to encourage them all to the right courses?
Absolutely. And even within our group, within our talent development, people like Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton, in our orbit, you know, with education and talent development, we really are crafting the next generation.
And as much as Americans are like, we don't want no kings, they seem, honestly, they seem pretty impressed with him.
And these
Still
kids
enamored
here
with the
are
royalty,
the
right?
next generation.
Can you imagine?
So you do music? Can you play instruments, musical instruments?
Not this age
No,
group.
this
A
age.
little
No,
older.
don't. But I may do. Where is he today?
In North Carolina.
Really? Well, maybe I haven't come. I managed to get there, yes. Give my best wishes, please.
Play instruments.
You don't, not
I
yet.
know how to play the drum.
Let's get to the good part where he's looking at the chickens, shall we?
Do you get any music in school?
You heard the jazz program, remember?
Here he is at the memorial, I believe. Play. No, he's at the chickens. Okay. I don't. I'm into birds. I like birds. I used to have pigeons. They're not chickens. I didn't eat the eggs when I was a kid. Homing pigeons, show pigeons. Anyway, okay. Enough of that. The other thing that the king did today, and I think tomorrow's his last day. They were there, and they also met with people from this nonprofit called Tuesday's Children, which is, I'm going to recue this. It's all about support for families from 9/11 that lost family members, and U.S. service members, saluting the families of fallen heroes. So that's what he was doing there today, too. You know, that's what the king does. He goes from country to country, community to community, and that's his job. Diplomat. And I hope it brings us all closer together. Any way you slice it, to me, that's all a good thing. Maybe it'll make Trump think twice before he opens his big yap and starts saying 51st state stuff again. 25 billion dineros. Yeah. You know, this is, so this gets me to the beginning of the special stuff tonight. I've been thinking about that, you know, actually for a while. And this is something I've been working on for, quite a while, actually, some of it, and some of it more recently, just finishing it up. Daddy Warbucks. That's what comes to mind of late when I'm thinking of Donald Trump. Oh, Daddy Warbucks. He, spending money like it's going out of style. And that got me to thinking a lot about about something from the past. This is where we're going to start with the special stuff. Let me take a little break because I have to actually run to the other room to grab something that I forgot to bring in to show you. And so I'll be right back after this, and then we're going to get into the home stretch here, okay? Stay with me.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, happens all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn easy bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
Okay, I've got what I need. So let's start this, shall we? Here's old Daddy Warbucks. Actually, this is the new Daddy Warbucks, okay? And this is what kind of got me traveling down this road. So there's Daddy Warbucks, Donnie Warbucks. 25 billion, blowed up in just 2 months. Well, the original Daddy Warbucks is this dude. September 27, 1924, Oliver Daddy Warbucks' first appearance in a Little Orphan Annie comic strip. There he is. That's Daddy Warbucks. Who's Daddy Warbucks? This is a long time ago, before my time, but Little Orphan Annie comics, I was familiar with those as a kid growing up. And Daddy Warbucks was a character who was a big financial guy, a big business guy who took in Little Orphan Annie, who had escaped from an orphanage, or was taken in from an orphanage, depending on which version of the story you're looking at. And in this original comic strip here, here's Little Orphan Annie telling Daddy Warbucks, who thinks originally that Little Orphan Annie is a little boy, not really looking. And Little Orphan Annie explains that Mrs. Warbucks took her in on a trial to try her out. And Daddy Warbucks says, "What? On trial? Listen here, don't you ever dare to call me Mr. Warbucks again," because she calls him Mr. Warbucks here. Says, "Mrs. Warbucks over here, I'm just an orphan Mrs. Warbucks took on trial." And he says, "What? On trial, eh? Listen here, don't you ever dare to call me Mr. Warbucks again." And she says, "Yes, sir." He picks her up and says, "You call me Daddy, see?" And so she did. Now, depending on which version of Annie you're seeing, the relationship portrayed in different ways. There was an old radio serial that I don't think she actually lived with him. She would kind of go there sometimes and other times not. And she was always out solving crimes and being sort of like a little orphan superhero, checking up on spies and uncovering conspiracies and catching all the bad guys, which was all pretty cool. Some movies made, of course, over time as well. I just picked up on this because because of the Warbucks thing, and also because of the way that people today don't even seem to understand what the difference between socialism, communism, progressivism, conservatism, liberalism, people don't even know. And it's like people have forgotten. Some of the stuff is blending these ideologies. But Little Orphan Annie came out in like the 20s, went through the Depression, and it dealt with a lot of these issues. A lot of this stuff is really not new at all. It really isn't. So I'm highlighting it here because the creator of Little Orphan Annie, Harold Gray, brings these characters together like in 1924. And so Daddy Warbucks actually debuted September 27th, 24, as I just showed you. Little Orphan Annie is there, and she has a little dog. Oh, you're going to love the name, Sandy, because the dog's name is Sandy. So Sunshine Sandy in our Maverick community will appreciate that. But Warbucks is like this big, large, powerfully built, bald, self-made millionaire in his sort of mid-50s, I guess, in the comic strip. Rose from owning a small machine shop to immense wealth by producing, what else, munitions during World War I. And he embodies this whole idealized capitalist and rugged individualist that has become part of the American ideal, really, for a lot of people, right? And so Harold Gray at the time, because you got the Great Depression, and then, of course, he was very opposed to the policies of Roosevelt, FDR. He didn't like the socialism. And so these conflicts, even back then, were happening. And it all kind of, in a way, filters through into this comic strip with Little Orphan Annie, who, to me, represents, in many ways, an original, an OG misfit, which is what we all are. And because she's out there using her superpowers as an orphan, fighting for good and never for evil, I'm thinking, hey, man, she kind of set the standard, set the bar for what we are here in the Maverick family. I think that's what we all aspire to. Always being optimistic, too. Always thinking ahead. Always focused, no matter how bad things got. Annie would always focus on tomorrow. But did you know that song didn't even come out until, I think it was like 1976? There were quite a number of movies that were made as part of the Annie franchise. There were some early films in the 1930s. There was one in 32 and 38. They featured Daddy Warbucks. They weren't huge successes back then, but you got the comic strips, and then you got this radio serial. Now, there was a Broadway musical in 77. And that's, 76, 77. And that's when the song Tomorrow came out. And then there were films made as well. There were pretty big hits. The 1982 movie, I think, is the biggest one, with Albert Finney, who played Daddy Warbucks. I think I've got, here's the comic strip again, and there's Daddy Warbucks, the new guy. There's the original from the comic strip in 24, and then there's that one from the movie. And a lot of people have seen that. That's just a staple now as part of American culture. Canadian culture too, Western culture. But the whole Annie story, whether it's the movies themselves or the comic strips or the radio serial, these issues of economic challenge, underdogs, misfits, even capitalism, individualism, optimism, all of these things, they're all presented as part of the storyline And a lot of it is inspirational, and more than that, it's all stuff that we can learn from by looking into the past, looking at the comic strips, the movies, and not just directly at them, but also everything that took place around them. Daddy Warbucks. That's because it's the military-industrial complex right there in front of us in its earliest incarnation. One of the earliest incarnations. In fact, it's been going on. It was going on even before that. I mean, that refers all the way back to World War I, into the 20s, and after World War I. And oh my gosh, see, this stuff, it just keeps repeating, echoing. We have to learn, man, and draw inspiration. And this is going someplace too, because I've got something special at the end lined up for you. I thought tonight too, what I do is, I think we can, with these short serials, see, this is ironic. Like, I was never a big Annie fan, but I started thinking about this weeks ago. And then I realized, I bought this. I've been drinking Ovaltine for quite a while now. I for some reason, this probably goes back 6 months ago. I said, I want some Ovaltine. I was never before. Now I drink Ovaltine before I go to bed. It helps me sleep. It probably shouldn't. It probably has caffeine in it, but it makes me sleepy. So I go to sleep. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but Ovaltine was the major sponsor of the Annie radio serials back in the 1930s. Yeah. So I thought, they're not very long. I have one queued up. This is one where Daddy Warbucks, I don't know if it might be the one where he actually debuts. I'm not sure. But Annie's always on these adventures, and she's dealing with criminals and spies, and and she's, she had actually, this is the other thing. She had a secret society. We're always talking about conspiracies around here, right? Because of the age of Trump and the post-truth era. Yeah. Well, she's one of the OG secret society people. The secret society was actually a real thing. It's not something she just spoke about. There was a little Orphan Annie fan club, which was called the Secret Society, and they would put out actual messages as part of the radio program, codes that the kids would get, and if you were part of the club, you would decode these messages that were coming through the radio program. Gee, where have we seen that lately? Q. But long before there was Q. This is all, and they would just refer to it as the SS, but this is long before World War II and the rise of Hitler and the Nazi SS. Had nothing to do with that. This was just a fun thing. But even back then, they were talking about a secret society. My gosh. It's so much fun to go back and look at this stuff. And today, they used to bring out, you used to be able to order decoder badges and things like that. In fact, here, I'll see if I can bring it up. If you have any of these things, decoder rings, decoder badges, I think they're decoder badges. They had rings too for Annie. But they're collectibles now, man. Right here, look at this. If you have any of these things, these antiques, they're worth a fair bit of money. Some of them in museums now. Here's a 1940 Little Orphan Annie ROA radio decoder badge pin brooch, pre-owned, of course, on eBay for $239. So depending on the condition, of course, these are all collectibles now. $116 for a decoder badge, 1940. It depends on which one, of course. There's a Christmas Story Little Orphan Annie reproduction decoder pin, $67. That's because they make reference to Ovaltine and all of this stuff in the Christmas Story movie. $109. Radio Orphan Annie decoder pin collection. Pretty cool. Anyway, just some fun facts and a little Orphan Annie pop culture trivia for you. So tonight I have an episode of the Little Orphan Annie radio serial queued up, and that's not even the most special thing. There's a really special thing afterward, but here we go. We're going to run this Little Orphan Annie radio serial for you tonight. It's not long, but in this you'll hear how the first part of the program, it's all like commercial, and you're going to hear about Ovaltine, and then they'll get into the storyline, which this one here, if I remember correctly, it has Daddy Warbucks in it. She's missing, as I recall, and he goes searching for her. This is 1936, episode 4 of 4, but you'll still understand the storyline because they give an explanation to cue this up when they have cliffhangers and stuff, so it's still a standalone episode. You'll understand it. Daddy Warbucks searches for Annie, and that's because they're trapped on... They were doing battle with secret spies who stole a high top secret plane that was silent, stealthy, again, like so far ahead of its time. Yesterday's science fiction through Little Orphan Annie, which you wouldn't think is like a science fiction flick or a science fiction radio serial, but in many ways it was. They have this new silent airplane, spies trying to get it, and here they are trapped in a remote location where they may have to spend the rest of their days unless they can figure out how to build a radio transmitter, pretty high tech for the time, with a screwdriver and nothing but a prayer. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling here, and then I'm going to come back with the super special thing on the other side. Here we go. 1936. What's the title of this one? Daddy Warbucks searches for Annie.
Here it is, Orphan Annie time again. But first, attention everybody please. Here's our last warning to those of you who haven't sent in yet for that beautiful gold-plated 2-initial signet ring with your own 2 personal initials right on it. Tonight's the very last night I can tell you how to get your own 2-initial signet ring without sending in a penny. Now remember, it's the same swell signet ring thousands of Ovaltine users sent in for last spring at the special bargain price of 10 cents. But now, during the past week, Annie's offered these same signet rings absolutely free to every one of her friends who tries new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine. Well, say, I don't have to tell you what happened with a bargain like that. Boys and girls sent in by the thousands, and Annie's supply of signet rings has been going like hotcakes. And so we're going to have to stop offering these rings on the radio after tonight. So if you haven't sent in yet, don't miss this last chance to get your 2-initial signet ring without sending in a penny. Because here's one ring that's so nifty, so swell, you'll be proud to wear it wherever you go. The ring itself is all finished in genuine 24-karat gold plate. Then the initials on top are finished in a beautiful, shiny silver tone color, giving the whole ring an expensive, rich-looking finish in a duotone effect. And remember, the biggest thrill of all about this ring is it's a 2-initial signet ring. It doesn't have just one initial on it, no sir. It has your very own 2 personal initials, both of them. And they're big initials, 3/8 of an inch across, and so bright and shiny and silvery, no one can miss seeing them. It's a big ring, too, all made up in a smart, modernistic design. And it's automatic fitting, so it will fit you exactly right. Boy, won't you be thrilled when your friends see you wearing a ring like this, a signet ring made up specially to your order with your own 2 personal initials right on top. And think of the fun you can have making up your own personal seal with it, for sealing letters and secret messages and things, just like kings and queens and generals did with their signet rings years ago. Now, all you do to make a seal, you know, is just melt some candle wax or sealing wax, and then press down the ring while the wax is still soft, and presto, when you lift up your ring, there's your own personal private seal, showing your own 2 personal initials stamped right into the wax. Now, everybody knows that signet rings, even those with just 1 initial, are usually very expensive. But say, no matter how much you wanted to pay, you couldn't buy this 2-initial signet ring in the stores anywhere. No, sir, they've been made up exclusively for Orphan Annie's friends who try new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine. And if you do, you can get your 2-initial signet ring absolutely free. And now for the last time, here's all you do. Just print your name and address plainly on a piece of paper. Also print plainly the 2 initials you want on your ring. Mail that paper together with all of the special gold-colored seal that you can find only underneath the lid of a can of new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine. Mail it to Little Orphan Annie, Chicago, Illinois. And so, ask your mother to get you a can of new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine at her drug or grocery store tonight. Tell her it comes in a different can. The same orange color, only it has the words chocolate-flavored and sweetened plainly marked on front. And then, as soon as you get it, take out that special gold-colored seal to send in and get your 2-initial signet ring made up specially to your order with your own 2 personal initials right on it. But remember, tonight's the last night we'll be telling you about it on the radio. So get busy this very night. But now, for tonight's adventure. Last time, we heard Captain Steele planning a new attack on Annie's Island. Unaware of this, Annie, Joe, and Mr. Wilcox, using some of the odds and ends they brought ashore from the shipwreck months ago, are now hard at work trying to build a radio transmitting set with which they hope to communicate with the world. But listen to Joe.
Gosh, Mr. Wilcox, do you suppose we can really do this?
Don't know, Joe. Hand me that screwdriver there, will you?
You bet.
All we can do is try and try hard.
And that's just what we're going to do. Try hard.
Yes, but don't be disappointed, Annie, if we don't succeed.
Leaping lizards, we've got to succeed, Bud. We've got to get word out somehow that we're here on this unknown island. Why, if we don't, we may have to stay marooned here all the rest of our lives.
Nevertheless, there are some things, Annie, that try as we will just can't be done.
I know.
We have a lot of material here, and I may have the knowledge to put together some sort of a wireless outfit. But I'm not sure. Again, even if we get such a set built, we may not be able to generate enough power in any homemade electric generator to send waves more than a mile or 2.
Gosh.
Those wire nippers, Joe, please.
Yeah, here you are. Shucks, sitting home in front of a radio back in Simmons Corners, Annie. We never gave a thought how hard it is to get broadcasting on the air.
I know it. Suffering Sunfish, all we had to do was turn a button on with a snap. And there was music coming from New York or Chicago.
Yeah, and voices. And when I see how tough it is to build a thing like just a plain transmitter that Mr. Wilcox is working on now, it makes me laugh at the books we used to read, where they were always inventing rockets to the moon and electric guns and a lot of stuff like that.
It makes a difference, Joe, whether you're living in a book or in real life the way we are. But don't get it into your head if we do manage to get a transmitter set up that we'll be able to talk to the outside world.
Shucks, won't we?
Indeed not. This isn't a story, Joe. It's the real thing. We'll be lucky if we can just send any kind of waves out through the air, enough to be heard by or interfere with, either shore stations or the receiving sets of any ships that might be crossing the Pacific.
Leaping lizards in that case then, Bud. If we can't send out word of where we are, how in the world can we ever expect anybody to find us?
Don't let that worry you, Annie. Hand me that copper wire there, Joe. I'm going to start winding this coil.
Yes, sir.
But it does worry me. Suffering Sunfish, if we can't talk or send messages over this radio once we get it built, and that is, if we ever do get it built, what good is it going to do us?
Plenty. If we can send out waves powerful enough to interfere with general wireless reception in the Pacific, you can bet it won't be long before some government or other turns a rangefinder on us.
A rangefinder?
It's really a direction finder, Joe. Wireless apparatus has been developed in recent years for determining the bearing of a distant transmitter. It's the same sort of instrument aviators use when they're flying blind, at night or in dense fogs. They can find within 2 degrees of an arc the exact spot from which the waves are coming from. And by following up this direction, they eventually arrive at the spot. So you see, if we are able to send out signals with this apparatus we're building, a government ship could follow the signals and find us.
Boy, that's better.
I'll say it is. For a few minutes I was thinking
No, our problem is to get waves on the air. After that, if we make them a big enough nuisance to other wireless receiving sets on boats and things, their source is bound sooner or later to be investigated, and the investigating ship will arrive at this island.
Gosh, I can almost see it coming now. Smoke pouring out of its stack, spearing in toward us.
Whoa there, Joe, not so fast. Don't count your chickens yet. We've got a mighty tough problem on our hands. And with only these odds and ends to work with, this junk from the wreck, it's 99 to 1 we won't succeed.
Just the same, aren't we going to keep on trying?
Yes, we won't quit, Annie. Not until failure actually comes. But there are a lot of mysterious things about radio and wireless that nobody knows. So don't hope for too much.
Do you suppose Annie and Joe and Bud Wilcox will be able to put together a transmitter capable of sending out waves on the air? Only time will tell. Oh, but say, far away from Annie's Island, thousands of miles to the east and north, lies the city of Valparaiso in the South American country of Chile. In its fine harbor lies a ship, and something about its trim lines and its neat white sides are familiar. For it's a yacht, and in gold letters on its bow is the name Falcon. Yes, it's the old familiar Falcon, the yacht of Oliver Warbucks, Annie's foster father, and in its lounge cabin sits a disappointed and discouraged man, Mr. Warbucks himself. And with him is his skipper, Captain Taffrail, and his friend, Bill Darch. And listen, Darch is talking.
Well, Oliver, what are the reports today?
Nothing, Bill. Nothing. Messenger just came down from the capital at Santiago. Nothing to report.
I'm afraid it's hopeless, Oliver.
Maybe you're right, Bill.
It is, sir. You may take a sailor's word for it. Oliver, aside from being the skipper of your ship, I've been your friend for a good many years, right?
Right, Taffrail.
And I don't think I've ever given you a bad piece of advice. Now, see here. Annie, Joe, and the rest have been missing for months now, sir. Months.
That's right.
We've been up the east coast of South America. We've stopped at Buenos Aires, at Rio, at little ports through Patagonia. Nothing. No word. And now we've done the west coast. Chile, Callao in Peru, Guayaquil in Ecuador, Buenaventura in Colombia, up to Panama itself. And then we work down again. We're in Chile once more.
I know, Bill.
Taffrail's talking sense, Oliver. All this time we've had the cooperation of governments. You're getting reports right now from Santiago, and they all come to nothing. Each day, no word. No word, no indication of a shipwreck, no knowledge of any possible survivors.
Well, what do you gentlemen suggest? I can see you have something in mind.
This, Oliver. Taffrail and I have talked it over.
Aye.
We're two good friends of yours to see you waste yourself away any longer.
Waste myself away? Say I'm as good as I ever was.
Yes, but Oliver, old man, you can't go on forever looking for signs that Annie may be alive.
That you can't, sir. I've served the sea for upwards of 40 years, Oliver. She's a jealous mistress, and she don't readily give up her dead.
Dead? Oliver, Taffrail and I have talked this over. We've both reached the conclusion that Annie and the others are dead.
I know it hurts you, Oliver, but we might as well face facts. There's not a chance in the world now that Annie is...
That Annie is alive? You may be right, Taffrail. But if you'd have seen that little red-headed tyke grow up like I have, if you'd have plucked her out of an orphanage as I did, and done things for her, and seen her grow up and develop, and felt her hard, freckled little arms around your neck, well, man, you wouldn't think that there was anything that could stop the life in that fine little body.
The sea could, sir.
Yes, the sea. I know how much you love her, Oliver. She got under my skin, too, when we were all together over there in India last year. But let's face facts.
That's what I want, Bill. Facts.
They're simple enough. You got a message from her, thrown overboard from a ship called the Tiger.
Right.
Then no more word was heard from the Tiger. It disappeared from the seas.
And when a ship disappears, Oliver, it only means one thing. She's sunk. You may take an old seaman's word for that.
And no word from her since. Now let's face this, Oliver. The Tiger was headed for Asiatic ports. The message from Annie said Manila in the Philippines. But she never arrived there, or at any other port, either in Asia or anywhere else. So there's only one answer.
Aye. The ship went down with all hands. Pacific is mighty big, Oliver, and she wouldn't be the first that sunk with no word from her.
So, Oliver, much as I hate to say it, I feel that we're wasting our time in prolonging this search. Oh, I'm your friend and you know it. But for months we've had reports all up and down this coast, and no ship Tiger entered any port.
You think then I should look upon Annie as dead? I do, Oliver. I'll never be able to do that. But if she is dead, I'll always think of her alive and happy as I knew her. I see your point. Perhaps this search is useless, and maybe we should abandon it. But I want to ask you one more favor as friends of mine. Give me one more week. If in that week we get no clues, receive no word, then it's over. One more week is what I want. Just one more week.
One more week. Loyal Daddy Warbucks is standing by his Annie as long as he possibly can. But will a week be long enough for Annie and the rest to build that makeshift transmitter? And will it work? And now for the very last time, here's all you do to get one of those beautiful gold-plated 2-initial signet rings, specially made up to your order, with your very own 2 personal initials right on top. You get it absolutely free, remember, if you try new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine. And here's all you have to do. Just print your name and address plainly on a piece of paper. Also print plainly the 2 initials you want on your ring. Then mail that paper, together with all of the special gold-colored seal you can find only underneath the lid of a can of new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine. Mail it to Little Orphan Annie, Chicago, Illinois. Now remember, be sure you print the initial of your first name and the initial of your last name plainly so there won't be any mistake when we make up your ring for you. And be sure to send that special gold-colored seal from under the lid of a can of new chocolate-flavored Ovaltine. So ask your mother to get you a can right away so you can send in tonight, because Annie's supply is going fast. Now don't miss getting one of these swell 2-initial signet rings to have and wear for your very own just because you were too late. Now get busy and send in for your signet ring tonight without fail. And you certainly want to listen to Annie's next adventure next Monday to see if our friends can build a radio that will really work. Until next Monday then, goodbye.
So, that's Little Orphan Annie. Radio serial. Ovaltine. The promotions from Ovaltine and that radio serial, if you lived in the U.S., you used to have to mail your stuff in to get your decoder badges and stuff to a place, I believe, in Chicago and in Canada. Sandy, you're going to love this. Well, no, you won't, because actually, now that I think about it, you still love Annie though because of the dog named Sandy, but the kids had to send the stuff to Peterborough. That's where they manufactured Ovaltine, right up until 1988 in Canada. But like everything else, so much production of stuff has shifted. Ovaltine now owned by Nestle, but the production, they make this stuff not in Peterborough, but in a lot of places around the world. China, Switzerland, I think, a few other countries. This one came from, I looked yesterday, Thailand. I just thought about it yesterday. Where do they make it? Thailand. And the original stuff wasn't sweetened, but this stuff is, but not heavily. So if you want it sweet like the Nestle's Quick type chocolate, you have to put more sugar in it. But I like the stuff, and it helps me sleep at night. That's one of. Then I found out that they actually did a few commercials promoting Ovaltine in exactly that way. For it's a very adult drink, and you can drink it before you go to bed. It will calm you and help you to sleep. But there you go, Annie. An original misfit, also an original Maverick, because as an orphan, used her orphan superpowers for good, never for evil, outfighting spies, outfighting for truth and justice, and even had her own secret society, which is pretty cool stuff. But the big thing about Annie, especially from the 1970s on, you'll never hear that Tomorrow song in the radio serial because, as I said, it wasn't even introduced until the Broadway production came out in, I believe it was 76. Some might say 77. And then it became a big hit. It was a bigger hit after the first movie came out, the modern version of the movie. And I've been thinking about that song, Tomorrow, Tomorrow, I Love You Tomorrow, which Simon Cowell apparently hates when people sing it on America's Got Talent. Oh, well, too bad. So I've been working on this for quite a while, actually. So I'm glad that this all kind of came together tonight because now I'm going to share with you a new song from Maverick and the News Brothers, inspired by the song Tomorrow, inspired by my friend from afar, who's been talking a lot about, I guess, a variety of things, especially time, energy, radio frequencies. They had to make themselves a radio transmitter. And if you want to get a signal back, you need a transceiver. And if you just want to receive signals, then you need a radio receiver. When I was a kid, I learned how to make in electronics class a super heterodyne receiver to receive radio signals. And the thing about Annie, singing about tomorrow, tomorrow, always optimistic. What the heck do we have to complain about? Today, I was out, and even though the exhaust fell off my car, so now I have to crawl under it and weld a new exhaust on it. That's going to be fantastic fun. It's true, I was driving down the street and my exhaust fell off. But then I pulled up to a stop sign and a school bus stopped. And a kid got off the bus. Well, all the kids got off the bus. They were going home. And there was one young person who had very little hair. And you could tell that they weren't well. And then I didn't give a damn about my exhaust or my problems at all. And I was grateful for my old, ancient Volkswagen with the rusty exhaust that I'm going to fix myself, lest I have to actually spend some money that I don't have. That's okay. Because I'm here with you guys. And this is also why I wrote the song, the lyrics. We all hope for tomorrow, but we always have today. We always had today. And once we have today, we will always have it. Because we'll always have the memories. And people talk about time travel, life and death. Yeah, time travel's possible. It's real. Because we're traveling through it right now. This song, it's about love. And it's about time travel. But it's a reminder for everyone here, for all of us, to not get too focused on tomorrow. Because you're never going to catch it. You don't have to catch it. It's coming your way, man. The future is coming. And it's going to hit you smack dab right between the middle of the eyes, whether you like it or not. You're going to take the good with the bad. The technology is coming, just like it came for us all, in ways that people in the 1920s, 1930s couldn't even foresee. They didn't know World War II was coming. They didn't know fascism was soon to be on the march in Germany. It would affect the world the way that it did, all the things that came after. They had never heard of a thing called the internet, let alone artificial intelligence, space travel. nuclear weapons, E equals mc squared. I've been thinking a lot about that too. E equals matter, space squared. You start digging into that, and you are starting to tap into things that take you down the road of existentialism for sure, in a way that if you're not careful, it can drive you crazy. But I know I'm here. I know I'm real. I know that even though we hope for a better tomorrow and we long for yesterday, we absolutely have today. Because before tomorrow, there was always today. That's why this song, dedicated to all of you, because it's really inspired by little Orphan Annie and to all the things we've been talking about here, especially my friend from afar and a few others who have been inspiring me and making me think a lot about life, tomorrow, today. This is called Before Tomorrow. But I'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Yesterday lies scattered like autumn leaves. Today you're breathing softly next to me. The morning light is falling on your face. This is our place. The sun may come out tomorrow, but tomorrow's always a day away. So I love you forever, 'cause before tomorrow there was always today. No need to chase uncatchable light. Today always survives the night. Your beating heart is all the world I need. Let time recede. Where did you go, my love? Where did you roam? I'm all alone, wandering empty rooms at home. A moment missed, a memory lost. So I hold on for tomorrow, whatever the cost. The sun may come out tomorrow, but tomorrow is always a day away. So I love you forever, 'cause before tomorrow there was always today. And when yesterday's shadows stretch across the floor, we'll sing our song as we did before. Tomorrow's just a promise, hope for another day. just this day, just this day. The sun may come out tomorrow, but tomorrow's always a day away. So I love you forever, 'cause before tomorrow there was always today. We will always have today. Another day, just one more day.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.